Welcome to the webinar. I'm Saima Ijaz, joining you from Nanaimo, British Columbia, located on the beautiful and traditional territory of Nanaimo First Nations. I've Saad here online as the moderator, and you're welcome to send your questions related to the topic to him anytime during the presentation. Although most of us have structure for our daily routines, it does not carry the same importance for us as it does for the individuals and children on the autism spectrum. They feel safe when there's a consistent and predictable routine in place, and can become overwhelmed when there's lack of structure or routines suddenly change. Inconsistency causes anxiety, frustration, and meltdowns, which are often perceived as challenging behaviors by the parents. I'll begin by explaining how the structured days affect someone with autism and the reasons behind that. Steps for structuring play first before tackling the basic routines, and the use of different kind of visual schedules as packs, labels, actual pictures on a board or on an app to figure out what's the best option for the child concerned. I like introducing weekly schedules early on for the child to point out when they can expect to be at home, at school, or at the therapy, and how their days are different on weekdays from the weekends. This in general helps alleviate their level of comprehension, helps elevate their level of comprehension and alertness. I'll go over how to introduce timers and clocks, which helps children become more accepting of the changes in their routines. So by structuring the child's day, we create a sense of safety for him as it increases his predictability. This helps reduce anxiety and helps build sense of calmness and self-confidence, and also a connection with the surrounding and the caregivers. Child is more attentive and can communicate better. It also motivates and improves his overall comprehension, memory, and learning ability. Visuals help structure daily routines and keep things predictable and consistent, which raises the child's level of awareness for the daily activities and the sequence. Child reaches his next level of cognitive alertness as visuals clear confusion around daily tasks. Neurotypical children are full of questions about anything and everything, and have the amazing ability to process both visual and verbal instructions and information. They ask questions till satisfied. I believe that every neurodivergent child with or without autism has similar curiosities and questions, if not more. They are unfortunately unable to process verbal and some of the visual information, and in most cases, not able to ask what's on their mind. When we provide at least some of the answers around their day in a visual format, it reduces that confusion. As visual processing is a strength for the children on the autism spectrum, they start feeling oriented, aware, calm, and become more open to learning about how activities are carried out. They also connect better with the person who assists them in initiating and completing the task at hand, and this in turn builds confidence and trust. Almost every parent and most of the family members of a child on the spectrum are familiar about the use of communication boards. However, not every child responds or comprehends these boards the same way. I'll begin by explaining how to individualize these boards for the child instead of using generic ones, so it's meaningful for the child and helps him initiate communication to feel connected. I'll also go over different boards, when to introduce those, and how you can set those up. Let's structure play for a child who has restricted play interest and just likes to play on his own. So Sam likes blowing bubbles. He can ride a tricycle. He enjoys sitting on his beanbag, lines up toy trucks and carries one around all the time. He also goes on a trampoline for a few minutes when encouraged by his mom. His parents have been trying to get him to initiate choice making and switching from one activity to the next on his own. They've also been trying to get him interested in building blocks or Lego play without much success. They started using this board to see if he would select Lego eventually, but that hasn't happened. They also wish that Sam would join his sibling in a play activity instead of his usual solitary play. Hesitation in initiating play could simply be because the child requires some visual guidance. Visual structures make games and play activities more predictable and manageable for the child. For example, setting up stepwise block structures with visuals will give the child clear guideline about how to begin and proceed, and it has clear endpoints. This will help the child understand the steps that are needed to get to the completion of the game. You can increase the complexity of the structures as he masters the initial setups till he begins to enjoy making structures, feels proud of what he's doing, and gets more creative about it. I always have written instructions handy that I point to as I provide verbal instructions with some fading physical assistance that the child may require till he's able to manage on his own. List of steps should be short in the beginning, and then you may add more to that. For instance, my initial steps would be dump the blocks, make number one. You can put numbers on the different pictures there. Put the blocks back in the box and put away. Continue with the social reinforcement like praise, smiles, high fives as you establish a routine and then develop parallel play with the sibling. Now, use of a to-do and done board. You can represent each step of the activity with a visual cue attached to the board. The cue, it can be an object, picture, or word, or combination of those. It depends what the child really likes and notices. Here I've used words where the first one is dump blocks. So hand over hand, you can just, get all the blocks out of the box. Then you make the first structure, put the blocks back in the box and put away. Pull off each cue card during the activity as your child progresses so that he can clearly see the step of the activity. Once the step is completed, move it to the done column. Gradually reduce your support till your child can complete the activity on his own. Next step can be that you put in make structure 2, then make structure 1 and 2, and a step could be find the blocks for structure 1, make that, put it on the side, then find blocks for structure 2 and make that. So you can build it as the child progresses. Once he knows what he has to do initially and at the end, the to do column can just carry all the pictures of the different structures that he has to make. And he makes 1, 2, 3, 4, move them onto the done side, and then puts away the box. A year before, when Sam was showing no interest in play, we had introduced sensory pleasing fidgets. I helped him squeeze a stress ball with hand-over-hand physical assistance, which he liked. He was introduced to other sensory toys as well with full physical assistance, which was faded over time. You can check our last webinar about encouraging interactive play to learn about sensory toy exploration and making an individualized communication board for the child. Then using one of his favorite sensory fidgets, which was the squishy ball in this case, I introduced first and then strip for the daily activity, which wasn't much light and required some motivation, and it was brushing his teeth. It did make quite a difference. First and then is used widely for structuring activities at home, therapies, and at school. And once the child understands the concept, verbal guidance works as well. It's for pairing up a visit or a task the child is not too keen of with a favorite activity or place right after, like computer time after work or going to the playground after the doctor's visit. Now Sam is 4 years old. He stays home with his mom while his 6-year-old brother attends school. He will play with the same toy for hours, which is lining up his trucks, if not physically assisted to pick something else to play with. What worked for Sam was a board with pictures of toys and activities which he has shown interest in throughout the day, and use of first and then strip. You can begin with jotting down what your child's interests are and what you would like him to start trying. With the help of Sam's mom, I was able to list stuff that he liked. He liked to sit on his beanbag chair, and his mom would like him to play with blocks. And then we thought we could blow bubbles for him afterwards. Then he wanted him again building a structure and reinforcing it with a tricycle. And then she would like him to attend to some sing-along songs, which could be followed by a small favorite cartoon, just a small clip that he likes to watch over and over again. And then he could be directed to go use the trampoline. Then mom wanted, right after the bubble bath, which is a huge motivation for him, we thought we could do a quick picture-to-picture match. So actual board can then be made with labeled picture of toys and activities that are sequenced for morning to bedtime, like this little, that's where the pictures would go, like beanbag, blocks, and then bubbles. And rows are color-coded for morning, afternoon, evening, and night times and activities. You can use the colors your child prefers. Once you have established a play structure and a communication board for making play choices, it gets easy to establish day routines with morning and bedtime visual boards, if parents are struggling with those. These are examples of a simple morning and bedtime routines. I like to introduce colorful and bold labels with the pictures. You can sequence it the way this routine is set up at your place. For instance, if brushing teeth is after breakfast and before getting dressed, then that's how you sequence it. You can number the steps. You can also print 2 more copies for a picture-to-picture and text-to-text match, and then later a picture-to-text match activity for teaching word-to-picture association to the child. Here's another example of how you can set the board. Activities are sequenced differently, as mom in this case preferred brushing teeth as the first thing after waking up. Labels or short instructions can go on either side of the picture. You can make it with a column on the right-hand side where child can check off the tasks afterwards. So if the board is laminated, he can check it off. You can wipe it down, clean it up for the next day, and he can go over the activities and check it off again. He can also collect a sticker as positive reinforcement when he's got all the checks. You can add more steps with your child's feedback or what you think could work better. Use different pictures. It's a good idea to type same words that you usually use when giving verbal instruction for helping the child make an association between for the word you're saying and the sight word. Not all children on the spectrum can identify both maker packs or simple graphics. That was my child as well, along with most children with severe or level 3 autism. So taking pictures and making our own boards was the way for us. This one here was made for a little girl who identified real images better. It was also calming for her to see pictures of her mom with her before bedtime. Real images and bold labels is the initial approach I take. All neurodivergent children have an amazing memory of words that they see frequently, and this leads to a solid collection of sight words which can assist them in their reading comprehension skills for social narratives later. Now you are ready for the next board around daily schedule, grouped as morning, afternoon, and evening activities, where you can group morning activities as the time from waking up to leaving for school. Afternoon would be when the child comes back home after school, and evening would be from supper to bedtime. Introduce a weekly board as well to communicate the difference of weekdays and weekends. So the top row can have a picture of school for the 5 days, and then 2 days you can have a picture of home. And if for weekdays, a child basic schedule is school and then coming back home and then maybe going for a walk or playground in the evening, then that's the 3 pictures that go in these first 5 columns. And then you can consider which packs would you like to use for the weekend, depending on what you plan to do. Would it be like a visit to a pool or a grocery store, or maybe go see grandma or visit a friend? Here's a week schedule of a child with several activities in the afternoon and evenings. With an assortment of packs for different activities, you can set the week board for the next week. So child has time for visual processing and is aware of what to expect for each day. This makes transitions and acceptance of new activities easy. Make a habit of jotting down any upcoming specific events or activities on a monthly calendar as well, like if there is a doctor's appointment coming up, or any change in routine that you might be expecting. Encourage your child to check the calendar in routine, make plans, and ask questions. And it's not just for kids who are on the spectrum or who are neurodivergent. It's it's a great habit, and it's to just do it in routine and get that information, have it available for all your children. This is another way of preparing the child for a busy weekend where morning and bedtime routines are the same. Then you can encourage him by the first pack here. If you see this one, you are encouraging the child to check his visual board for the morning and afternoon activities. So early on, he has time to process the information and feels more prepared for the day, and when it's time to leave to go to the beach for a swim, or and then walk around and then go to the store. As each weekend is different from the next, you can set this board accordingly. Families of children on the spectrum know how hard it is to limit duration for a child's favorite activity and transitioning him to the next one. Consistent use of timers can be helpful here, which is a way of introducing the concept of minutes to a child on the spectrum visually. A child who loves bubble bath before bedtime might get upset when you try to take him out, even when you have given him a couple of 5-minute warnings. Setting a timer for 5 minutes where he gets to watch as the red space shrinks till it's gone and there's a buzzer might work better. Remember to gently assist him out of the bath and then use positive reinforcement for doing that till so he can make that connection. Another way to approach is by setting up timer beforehand for how long you'd like him to be in the bath, like say 30 minutes, and put it in where he be able to see it while he is taking his bath. Kitchen timers work pretty well as well too, especially because the numbers are set clockwise. I like using timers that have numbers set clockwise, so it's less confusing for the child when he's introduced to time reading. We know as parents that it's equally hard to get the child on the spectrum to initiate something new. So again, timer can be used when initiating a new task. I like saying, let's try this for a minute. And that's where I can set the timer so he gets to know that it's just for, it's just a few tries, and that's all I need to do. You can gradually increase the time as he gets relaxed and increase it to 5 minutes. You can also follow it with 5 to 15 minutes of free play or break where he spends some time with his favorite toys or equipment. You can, as you use these set times for different activities, you'll see that the child will soon get a sense of how long a minute is, what does 5 minutes means, how long are 45 minutes. And then even with verbal reminders, you'll be able to understand when you ask him to wait or sit somewhere. You can also make use of a simple board for introducing the concept of an hour, or what I refer to as a o'clock board. Select 3 to 6 daily activities from morning to night, which are consistent throughout the week, like when the child wakes up, or you wake him up, or get him his breakfast, the time he gets dropped at the daycare, when he gets a snack, or when the family has the supper. So those times you can jot down and see that they're spread all over the day. It could be like begin with 3, and later you can make a bigger board. Then draw clock hands, showing him that for 7 o'clock, hand is pointing to 7, number 7, and so forth, and then mention it like it's 7 o'clock, time to wake up, or it's 3 o'clock, let's have a snack. Draw or use stick-on hands on the clock to match it with the handy clock, showing the same time and the activity set for that time. If the child is not grasping the time reading at school, you can create, again, you can make sheets of this board and use it for matching, association, creates, just a fun activity that'll help child get that concept. Now he's ready for the next visual board for his daily schedule, where you can state the timings in hours and minutes instead of the rounded up hour or o'clocks. There are several apps available for scheduling. One that I like and recommend is called Visual Schedule Planner, where you can set up to 5 activities each for morning, afternoon, and evening with time, picture, and text. As you can see from this snapshot, you can set each day differently if you prefer to, or set it the same way. Child can check off each activity as he goes through his days, and then it can be visualized as a daily, weekly, or monthly schedule as well. You can go in the settings to edit it and use different pictures, text, just change the activities, change the sequence. But try not to play too much, and get your child's feedback on that. So this concludes today's presentation. Please check the website for the upcoming webinars and a link for this one if you have missed something or you just want to go watch it once again. Do we have any questions, Saad?
Yeah, we had a few come in.
Okay.
Our first question is, my 8-year-old pretty much ignores whatever I say. He's also becoming more moody with time. He starts crying or gets angry for no apparent reason. What can I do?
Well, make a schedule and stick with it. Autistic children tend to do best when they have a highly structured schedules, day or routine, and it's consistent. Consistency is what they need and crave. So set up a schedule for your child with regular times for meals, therapies, school, bedtime. Try to keep disruption to this routine to a minimum. If there is unavoidable schedule change, prepare your child for it in advance and set playtime with him.
Our next question is, my child seems to work well at therapy and school, but he wouldn't do his homework or assignments at home. What am I missing?
Children on the spectrum have a hard time applying what they've learned in one setting, such as at the therapist's office or at school, to another setting or environment, including home. Find out what your child's therapists are doing and learn and continue their techniques at home. If you're taking your child to the therapist, check if there's a session that they could, you could ask them to arrange where they can come to home, or they can just let you attend it with the child so you get to see how they're working, their body language, the words, the way they use their words, how they physically assist the child and then feed it out. So use of those techniques would be very helpful. It would also encourage your child to transfer what he or she has learned from one environment to another, and what we call is generalization of the skills. Is able to do the same type of work anywhere.
Nope. Our next one is, what's the best time of day to schedule play at home?
Schedule playtime when your child is most alert and awake. Figure out ways to have fun together by thinking about the things that make your child smile, laugh, and come out of his or her shell. Sometimes when the child wakes up, they need some more stimulation to feel alert. And so sometimes it's not the first couple of hours, but it's different for each child. So you have to get those cues from your own son. or daughter. Play is an essential part of learning for all children, and there are tremendous benefits and results from your enjoyment of your child's company. I hope you got some other ideas during around your question during this webinar, but I'll also recommend that you watch our last one, which you'll find on the education page of the website.
Our last question is, I have set sessions for my 5-year-old with a recent diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder with a speech-language pathologist and an occupational therapist 2 to 3 times a week. What else can I do to help my child so that he continues making progress?
Your involvement is vital to success. You can help your child get the most out of treatment by working hand in hand with the team and following through with the therapy at home. Or again, like I said, transferring the skills and generalizing. You can also share those techniques and successes with the school team and with other family members. It's one of the best questions when I hear a parent ask that. It's just makes me feel so good. Thank you.
Yep.
So that's it,
Yeah,
Saad? Those
that's
are
all. That's all the questions on my end.
okay. Thank you. Link of the recording will be available on the education page of autismsolutions.info in a few days. If you have any questions around this webinar or the upcoming ones, please drop me an email. Thanks and have a good night.